Netflix, I just gotta ask, what the hell? I mean, seriously, in all due respect, what the hell? You had one job to do. Today is March 7th, 2025. The day I'm recording this is March 7th, 2025. And you blew it. You goddamn blew it. Why? Because today on your streaming service, you released Plankton the movie. Next weekend, you're releasing The Electric State. And you know what date is next Friday. It says it on your goddamn calendar. It is March 14th. You know what happens on March 14th. It is the day that a certain individual will fry. And you know who says that individual is going to fry? Plankton. Plankton says that on March 14th, it should say the day that crabs fries. Do you know how big of a marketing campaign you could have done for this movie if you were to release it on March 14th, the day that crabs fries, instead of the fucking Electric State, a movie that people are gonna watch once and then completely forget about? People aren't gonna forget this movie because it's Plankton. It's SpongeBob, a beloved property. So what I'm trying to say is, you maniacs! You blew it up! You should have released it on March 14th, the day that crabs fries. I need a breather.
Oh, my Karen. Oh, my Karen. Oh, my computer wife, Karen.
Plankton! I'm gonna do what you could never do. World domination!
World domination? That's my thing!
Which hemisphere should we invade first?
Plankton the movie is now streaming on Netflix and is the 5th film in the SpongeBob film franchise. Hold your horses, this one might actually be very, very good. In this movie, Plankton's tangled love story with his sentient computer wife Karen goes sideways when she takes a stand and decides to take over the world without him. Now with the help of SpongeBob and the Gal Pals consisting of Sandy, Mrs. Puff, and Pearl, it's up to Plankton to stop her. Well, seeing how Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, turned out to be just the best SpongeBob movie since the first. Oh, we're in for a real treat, aren't we? So I know I probably brought this up when I reviewed the SpongeBob SquarePants movie as a watching and talking, but as a kid, SpongeBob was just all around one of my favorite things. This show, in some way, shape, or form, has redefined an entire generation. Most everyone my age watched this show and certain episodes on repeat as kids, and now look back on it really damn fondly. I mean, who didn't love this show as a kid? Half our parents wouldn't even let us watch it, which made us want to watch it even more. Despite being in my early 20s, this show, these characters, in the first 3 seasons and the first movie, still hold a very special place in my heart. Every once in a while, you can catch me revisiting those first 3 seasons for both nostalgia and a damn good laugh. I sometimes forget how funny some of these episodes really are, and how they used to sometimes push the boundaries that you don't see a lot of kids shows do nowadays. I mean, hell, last year for its 25th anniversary, they released the first 300 episodes on one DVD box set, and yeah, I did end up buying that because I just thought it'd be something kind of cool to have, because I look back on the show so freaking fondly, and yeah, you are correct. It does stick out like a sore thumb on my shelf. I honestly don't know if I'll ever even open this. I just really think it's something cool to have, and I don't know. Maybe I will open it, maybe I won't. Now, I haven't seen much new episodes of SpongeBob, aside from a few clips online, and maybe every once in a while when I just like turn it on in the background for some noise. But I do gotta ask, when the hell did SpongeBob become Ren and Stimpy? I mean, personally, I'm not complaining, but when I see clips like this, I'm just like, when did that happen?
So see what SpongeBob's doing. Wanna hang out?
And as you all know from last year, I of course still love that first SpongeBob movie. Even to this day, it is still a classic that can never be topped, no matter how many SpongeBob movies they make. Now, as for the Sandy Cheeks movie that came out on Netflix last year, I don't know how you guys are going to react to this, or if you're even aware of this, but yeah, it's fucking awful. It was one of the worst SpongeBob things I've ever seen in my life. What the fuck was that fever dream? It wasn't a good one. It was just, Oh my god, it was so bad. Like halfway through the movie, I had to pause it and take a break because this like 80-minute movie felt like it was 2.5 goddamn hours. It was so painful to sit through. I hated it. And slight spoilers, but it may or may not be in my worst of the year list. But not even a year after Sandy saved Bikini Bottom, we now have Plankton the movie, in which Plankton has to save Bikini Bottom. Yeah, do you guys realize, like, all these SpongeBob movies, aside from the third one, have the same plot, in which they have to save Bikini Bottom in some way, shape, or form? I feel like they're kind of running out of ideas, aren't they? So when I heard that they were making this movie, I was on board. I mean, Plankton is a character I enjoy quite a bit. He arguably has some of the best episodes, and teaming him up with SpongeBob is always enjoyable. But after watching that fucking Sandy Cheeks movie, my anticipation went down quite a bit. And once the trailer finally dropped and it only looked slightly better animated than Sandy Cheeks, I thought this was going to be yet another downgrade because it seems like as these movies go on, they just get progressively worse and worse. But again, it's Plankton. I'm pretty sure he can hold a movie on his own much more than Sandy ever could. Plus, he's always been much more of an entertaining character than Sandy. So I woke up this morning, got myself a gun, my mama always said I was gonna be the chosen one, and I went downstairs with a good old mindset of, let's just get this over with. And right as it started, I was already not happy with what I was seeing. The last one started off with a musical number that set the tone for the rest of the film, and so did this one. And on top of that, what did they do to my boy, the SpongeBob narrator? Oh Lordy B, what did they do to him?
Follow me to the bottom of the sea, to a world that is truly magnifique.
I'm so sorry, but what happened to him? Is this a new narrator now? Or did it really get to the point where it got to be so much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting that they had to hire a new one because he don't sound right? But yeah, right off the bat, I was not amused. But on top of those two things, I quickly come to find out that the director of this movie only has one other directing credit under his belt. Do you want to guess what other directing credit that is? Fuck! So with knowing that and not being intrigued by the first 2 minutes, I was not looking forward to the next 85 minutes of my life watching this movie. But then, something happened halfway through the movie. I realized that I was invested? And I was getting a few good chuckles. And I might be crazy, but I was enjoying myself. Guys, I don't know if I'm alone on this. I don't know if I'm okay either, or if the Sandy Cheeks movie was just really that goddamn bad. But I actually quite enjoyed Plankton the movie. And I dare even say, it's the best SpongeBob movie since Sponge Out of Water. Yeah, I'm sorry. What the hell is going on? I'm shocked to say that this is a legit good, enjoyable, and somewhat humorous SpongeBob movie. Really? Plankton the movie on Netflix from the director of the Loud House movie is actually good? This can't be real. I really had to sit down and think, how? How is this possible? How, in 2025, is there a good SpongeBob movie and one that is on Netflix of all places? And I came up with 3 ideas on how this movie turned out the way it did. The first being that maybe the Sandy Cheeks movie really was just that damn bad to where it left such an awful taste in my mouth that anything other than that would be better. Another one was probably because I was watching it at home and not in a theater where it has no right to be. But then I came up with my final solution. And it has to be this because one of the writers of this movie is Mr. Lawrence, the voice actor for Plankton. I think the reason this movie actually turned out the way it did was because this guy has known this character for over 25 years, and it would make sense for him to be the writer of a Plankton-centric movie. Yes, I know he's wrote a lot of SpongeBob episodes in the past, but again, this makes sense for him to be one of the writers for a movie about Plankton. It's kind of like how Ryan Reynolds is one of the writers of the Deadpool movies. He knows that character so well from the inside and out that of course they turn out the way they did. So you're probably wondering, What made this movie work so well? Well, one thing that worked for me immediately was that Plankton is obviously the main focus of his own movie. I mean, shocker, but he's always been one of my favorite characters. Yeah, Sandy's completely fine, but I can't think of many episodes where she's the main centric character that legit turned out great, because most of her best episodes are where SpongeBob is the lead. And off the top of my head, I can think of like 5 great Plankton episodes. And as I said before, him teaming up with SpongeBob is always great. That was honestly probably the best part of Sponge Out of Water. It's Plankton! One thing I wasn't really expecting from this though, for some reason, was that it's a kind of twisted romance movie. A huge chunk of the film is focused on the relationship between Plankton and Karen and how they came to be a couple, and I actually kind of got caught up in that aspect of the film, and it's legit kind of sweet. I mean, guys, I was not expecting to say this shit for Plankton the movie. And while we're on that subject, good God, is there something they do in this movie that's pretty fucked up. So, we see a scene of Plankton and Karen back in their college days, and there's one point where they decide to freeze Plankton's roommate, and this is only brought up because Plankton and SpongeBob have to go to Plankton's old college dorm to find something. They get to his dorm, they open the closet, and who's in there but none other than Plankton's old roommate, and instead of unfreezing him, they're just like, nah, leave his ass in there. I'm not gonna lie, that was probably the biggest laugh I got out of the movie, because that's just fucking dark. Also, this is probably the best way to acknowledge that Karen's name is Karen, because the whole movie is about her going full Karen. I mean, there's one point where they refer to her as Mega Karen. Speaking of which, while this movie is not at all laugh out loud funny, I actually did get a few chuckles here and there, and some of them were actually from SpongeBob. Yeah, remember in the Sandy Cheeks movie where he was only a comic relief? Well, he's still that here, but he actually has a purpose to be here, and he's not annoying. Watching Saving Bikini Bottom was probably the first time ever where I actually got why some parents find SpongeBob annoying, so it was actually pretty nice to have the old energetic, not annoying SpongeBob back. And while we're talking about the characters, it was actually kind of cool for once to see Mrs. Puff and Pearl be actual characters in one of these movies. Usually, they'd just be there for like a quick gag or they'd never be acknowledged, but them two, along with Sandy, actually have a purpose in this movie. Okay, yeah, the only reason them three are even prominent in this movie are because them and Karen are gal pals and they drink coffee and talk about boys, girl power and all that. But again, you never really see Pearl or Mrs. Puff in any of these movies, and with characters like Mr. Krabs and Squidward not really having much of a role here, it was kind of a nice change of things. Actually, now that I think about it, I don't think Squidward had a line in this movie until the very end. Also, has Larry ever been a character in one of these movies? When is Larry's time to shine? How else am I supposed to be, I've been like Larry? I will also say that while the animation is not that great, it's a little bit of a step up from the Sandy Cheeks movie, and there's a few reasons for that. First off, about 95% of this movie takes place underwater in Bikini Bottom, where it's all animated. Most of Saving Bikini Bottom was in live action and had cartoon characters that were so poorly animated that they didn't blend right in live action at all. In this movie, however, when they do have live action scenes, there's not much of the animated characters interacting with real people or them walking in realistic settings, so it's not as distracting. It's not on the levels of Sponge Out of Water in any way, but it still looks convincing enough, mostly because the live action stuff is in the foreground, while the animated stuff is all green screened in, even if it's some pretty awful green screen at points. I mean, good God. You can see the outline all over the place. I didn't know if that was on purpose or what, but it was just freaking terrible. But hey, I guess it's better than Wanda Sykes' head being inflated onto a child's body, or Wanda Sykes' head being in the mouth of a horribly CGI'd fish. God, that movie was... what the fuck was that? But aside from that, they actually have a lot more fun here with the animation than they ever did once in the Saving Bikini Bottom movie. They have one scene that's a backstory animated in the style of an old 30s cartoon, and one kind of tribute looking scene looks somewhat like the style of a Meat Canyon video, but less creepy. And maybe I'm wrong about this, I wasn't paying that close attention, but I didn't see that many animated character models that looked freaking soulless like some of them did in Saving Bikini Bottom. Mr. Krabs is tripping the fuck out! Again, the animation is not the greatest, but it's a streaming movie on Netflix of all places, and it's more appealing to look at than anything in Saving Bikini Bottom, so I kinda give it the benefit of the doubt. At best, it's a 6 out of 10. Hey! Just like me at best! Come on, ladies, I can take it. Rate me on a scale from 1 to 10. At best, don't be cruel. But I do have one question for all of you, especially those of you who have watched the movie already. Did any of you know that this is supposed to be a musical? Because I didn't. So I know it's usually expected for these movies to have at least one or two musical numbers somewhere throughout the film, but it never got to the point where I'd call them musicals. Plankton, however, has not only just one, not even two, but over 6 songs in the entire movie. Yeah, 6 songs. I counted as the film went on. But as a musical, while I can't say a single one of the songs is particularly memorable, they're not as bad or not as good as they could have been, and at the same time, they're not pointless. You're not going to be finding your new Now That We're Men or Goofy Goober Rock and Plankton the movie of all places, but the more I think about it, some of the songs actually do serve some kind of purpose to the film. You of course have your happy opening song that also has a reprise at the end, you have one introducing Plankton, and one shortly after about Karen's plan for world domination, and then there's actually one towards the middle of the movie where Plankton is singing a song about why he's a jerk, and by default, it is the best song in the movie.
I'm a jerky jerk.
But there's also like a song during the 30s flashback scene that you could have cut out and you wouldn't have missed a thing.
We did everything together. We even dressed the same. That Spud was my best bud and Karen was her name.
But as a musical, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just part of the movie that happened. But hey, at least it's not
Men to woman, or woman to men.
Man to woman.
From penis to vagina.
whatever the fuck that's supposed to be. Musical my ass.
And thank you to Emilia.
Oh, that is just so cute. They think they actually made a real musical. Okay, I am very much getting off track. Enough shitting on Amelia Perez. Back to Plankton. Now, I can't really think of any issues that I had, aside from being mixed on the animation, but as someone who watched this show religiously as a kid, I do have a few nitpicks. Mostly on the fact that I guess nothing in the show is canon, or they just completely forgot. So I know it's by no means a classic, but do any of you remember that episode called Friend or Foe, in which it was the backstory on how Mr. Krabs and Plankton became enemies, and Plankton wanted to steal the Krabby Patty formula? Well, in the context of this movie, apparently, Plankton just ate at the Krusty Krab one day and was just like, Dad, I want that, gimme. I also noticed very quickly that in the scenes where Plankton and Karen are in college, that Karen was calling him by his actual name, Sheldon.
Thank you, Sheldon.
She can talk.
He can talk.
I thought she didn't know his actual name was Sheldon until Plankton's hillbilly family brought it up in Plankton's army. I am like the only one who's gonna notice that. Also, hey, if we're underwater, how can there be a...
Wow!
And this ain't a nitpick or a problem or anything, but kind of like Marge Simpson's voice actor Julie Kavner, you can very much tell that Tom Kenny is really starting to lose that classic SpongeBob voice. Actually, there is one issue I did think of with the movie, and it's that there's one or two not so great line reads, like this one.
Oh no, my friend!
Good luck with the mission.
Why did SpongeBob sound so disinterested there? Oh no, my friend. He will not be able to help us even though we need him. Nah, shucks. So yeah, there's a few parts here and there where they should have done a take two. But in the end, I was never in a million years ever expecting to actually enjoy Plankton the movie out of all things. It is nowhere near the masterpiece that is the first SpongeBob movie, and it's not as good as the second one, but for a cheap little appetizer released on Netflix before The Search for SquarePants hits theaters, I think it gets the job done just right. It's not going to be anyone's favorite movie of the year, and it won't blow anyone out of the water, no pun intended, but for a movie that I thought was going to end up being total dog shit from just the first few minutes, I was pleasantly surprised. I had a good time, and I can easily recommend it to any SpongeBob fans, new or old.
You did this! You! This is all your fault!
No, it's not.
So yeah, surprisingly, I'm going to be giving Plankton the movie a B. No, B minus. Low B. Seriously, I am legit shocked I even enjoyed this one at all. But honestly, I want to know what you guys think because I feel like I am very much alone on this one. Did you like Plankton the movie? Did you hate it and think it's up there with the Sandy Cheeks movie? Or are you just somewhere in between where you think it's okay? Let me know down in the comments below because I can't be the only one who enjoyed this movie. thanks so much for watching, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, and when I do say that, I really do mean subscribe to my channel, because I know like half of you watching are not subscribed, and I do mean it when I say all your love and support really is what does keep this channel going. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, turn on the notification bell, and while you're at it, go follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Letterboxd at Trev's Movies, and I'll be back later with more reviews, and I'll see you then.